inviting further discussions with them concerning it, which I mean, to be honest with you guys, I mean, we're not the experts when it comes to the issue of, what should be, what plants should be planted, what trees should be planted. I mean, we really leave that to our experts, the people that actually know what's going on. Hello, Fred, we're all right? Okay, 10 seconds, I guess. You got everything except members. Okay, well, okay.
Help us with that, please.
Okay, I guess I'll start. For everyone streaming video land, you have a sketch plan conference. Yeah, you have a sketch plan conference that the potential applicants will describe what the issues are and the background of the application they're thinking about. So why don't you just take it away?
Okay, so years ago when,
Let's see who you are. I'm trying to pull, I want to get the photos if I have them up here too.
Yeah, they need to speak into the mic in order to.
so
Can they
I'm Tommy Simonello, I live at 26 Carroll Court in the Enclave. Years ago, when we had the site plan approvals, they approved species of trees that are growing too large for the area where they are planted, and they were planted too close together. So what we're looking to do is just change the species of tree that's in the circle on our drawing to a different species that will not grow as fast and that will not cause the other trees around there to die prematurely. Because that's what's happening. Everything is dying prematurely, and if we replace what's on our site plan, we're gonna have the same problem 7 or 8 years from now. So we're looking to eliminate that problem for the community.
All right, okay. And you have a proposal
Yes.
for how to deal with it. All right.
So we're just showing some examples, and let me say who I am. My name's Lee Freund, I live at 6 David Lane, and I'm the treasurer and a board member of the Enclave at Rybrook HOA. These are some photos of the area that we're talking about, and if you have, actually, the site plan, but this is, I want to actually show the border area here. I'm going to try to bring that up. This is, I'll give you a sense of what's going on here. So this is the club side, and this is our side. I'm going to step away from the mic.
Do we have one of those portable
So if you
mics?
notice up to in the first in the upper left, oh, you have a point?
you a Yeah.
portable. This one? Yeah, thanks. Great.
And then just touch also the clear when you're not.
Okay, all right. So, so you have, in this example up here to the top left, you can see how the trees, as our property has matured, are growing into each other, and they're growing on top of the homes. And this is a terrific example. This is the reverse view down here right below it of the same home that you see in the top view. And our homeowner is sitting right over here, John Mugno. And then this shot here on the right is just down the lane of the border between Enclave and
in the
Blackwell
first
Country,
one on
Blackwell
the
Golf Club.
top left? Where is the club? Which side is the club?
On the right-hand side of the picture,
So those trees are on your property or the club's property?
the club's property.
Club's property. Okay, that's.
Here's another look at the club. So,
Do you have problems with those trees that are being outgrown, or?
no, the original intention of those trees that were planted by Toll was for screening of the golf club, then from the golf club screening from the
So
homes and vice versa.
you're not proposing to make any changes on the right side there?
No, what
Okay.
we're looking to do is just have new species approved. And we've already put some in to handle some that have died, and we're just looking to continue those replacement items to give the homeowners more variety of choice rather than replace with species
But-
that we already have. But I just want to describe how the conditions have changed also. So when the site plan was approved, which was over 10, 15 years ago, the conditions have advanced and changed. And since then, the golf club has planted 36 new trees along the border, and that's what this picture here actually shows. These are all brand-new trees that were planted just in the last 3 years.
Those spruces, right?
Everything you see down the line to the right, the spruces, I'm not sure what the other species are, but everything
Maple
you see
or whatever,
again, those are continuing to grow and screen, and so those are taking care of a lot of the intended screening from the original site plan.
I am still not clear.
About?
Is it the tree, do you want to add additional screening on the club side or on your side?
We don't want to add any additional screening, just, so, this is the club side. These trees,
And you don't want no changes
we
on
don't
that?
want to do any
Oh,
changes there.
fine, okay.
On our side,
All right, okay.
can you put a picture of our side? On our side, these trees that are overgrowing are growing into each other and killing.
Those are on your side?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we want to have the option that when they die, or even if they're becoming dangerous, that we could cut them down and replace them with a species that won't grow as large and kill the trees and continue to grow at a level that is sustainable for our community.
Yeah, I mean, I think the general consensus is that the trees that were planted are now overgrown, and that they are running into one another, they're dying, and they're not insignificant, so they could fall on, I mean, the homeowners is like right there, and if one of those trees keels over during a storm, that's gonna be a lot of damage.
Don't we all run into that problem? Sounds very familiar. You plant a little tree, and then about 20 years later, you have to go to the village and beg them to give you permission to cut it down and whatnot.
Well, this is an example of what happens what can happen with landscaping plans over the years. But understand that the context in which these landscaping plans are implemented initially is that everyone wants the screening immediately. So no one is willing to allow things to grow in so that you don't have these sorts of problems.
But I think 90% of us that live in the village probably kick ourselves and said, my God, why did we do this? Now we have a problem with the trees that are massive and present the danger
I
and
agree.
shade and everything,
Yeah.
and we can't take it down.
Right. Well,
And that's what happened here, is that I had met with members of the HOA, about a year ago, and there were a number of trees that were basically dying or in severe shape, and they did get a permit to remove them. But then the question came back, well, we don't want to put back these trees. We don't want to do this. So in essence, what you have here is a row of evergreens. They're white pines, they're blue spruces that are spaced out 8 feet apart. A white pine will grow 60 feet wide. Blue spruce will grow 40 to 60 feet wide. They're 8 feet, many of them. So they started dying off. So what our conversation was, well, to do the right thing moving forward, you have a approved site plan that has restrictions for screening, requirements that were approved under the approved site plan. That still needs to be met. Okay.
And a 60-foot tree, whether you like it or not, becomes a very danger during the lightning storm. And I would not like to have my house next to a 60-foot spruce or a white
let me ask you
pine.
a question now, Sarah. I mean, are trees like white pines even encouraged? I mean, generally, or are they?
That would be a native tree, so yeah, we would encourage that. But you would have to take in consideration the size at maturity and where you're planting it, and if it's appropriate in that place.
I have two questions that came to mind when I was looking through your materials. One is, in terms of the cost of this, is this going to be absorbed by the HOA, or is this absorbed by the homeowner? How is it divvied up, if it is?
It depends on what work is being done. So that's really how we look at it and the priorities of the HOA. So where we do have trees that are dying and at risk, the HOA takes care of those.
Okay.
Anything that's at risk. If
So-
it's something that that the homeowner just wants to replace because they want to put another piece there,
Right.
that would potentially be on
But
the
the,
homeowner.
but the issue is that there are two ways of going about doing this. One is you identify those trees or shrubs or whatever they are that are not growing or are dead or are likely to be dead soon. And you simply have a program of replacing these things en masse. You spend the money, you replace them, you reset this landscaping plan, and then you're done with it. Or you can do it over the course of years and let the homeowners decide when they want to take things out. And then there has to be a process of identifying, well, who's really responsible for taking this out. And the issue is, that is being raised by Michael, is that people just can't put in what they want to put in. They have to put in certain things that are not going to end up creating the same problem 10 years later. And it's that sort of procedure that I think is the complicated feature of this application. How are we going to actually do that? And what organ within the HOA is going to oversee this, so that when a homeowner wants to take out a tree, they know they have to go to, let's say, your version of the ARB and say, look, I want to take out this tree, and someone from the HOA comes out and says, yeah, this is going, and that's how it's done.
Mr. Chairman, I think I even have a little more of a fundamental question. If I recall, a couple of months back, I have seen some correspondence on this topic, and we actually had to postpone one of your appearance before us because there was some disagreement among the homeowners. So am I under the assumption that you coming to us as a
HOA, yeah, homeowners association.
you
right?
speak on behalf, I'm not familiar with your bylaws, but you speak on behalf of all of the homeowners.
Yes, that's correct. This is
And
HOA
wh-
property, yes.
Okay, so the homeowners would have to abide, but whatever we approve to you or whatever changes we make to you,
Yes.
they will have to abide by that rather than go on their own and plant whatever they want.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Right, and that therein hangs the tail, and how to go about, if you're gonna do it over the course of time, because things will be replaced over maybe the next 5 years, how is that going to be implemented so that we don't end up with the same problem in 5 years, with people just planting whatever they wanna plant, and no one really knows what should be planted, and that's.
I
And
think we
one of
could-
the issues that happened here is that there was a situation where a property did remove the landscaping, the screening, now opening up that buffer, and there was contention about replanting it. So that was another reason why we all got into this discussion, because there are site plan approvals that stipulate that there is a vegetated screening buffer.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why this all came
So
about as
question
well.
along those lines, is the plan outlined here, the trees and the shrubs, would they, if they're planted to the size and spacing as recommended by the landscape architect, does the landscape architect think that would be an appropriate screen?
Yes, so this is an example of what we're proposing. Right there, that's it. So
Where-
we
where?
worked with
Which
Michael,
one?
right
On
with
the
mi-
big one
white
on the
mark
left?
there, yeah, with the white mark there.
So he's saying that screen,
So this is what we worked on with Michael last year when this came up. And we've now are submitting a plan that includes these species that are native. And as homeowners, as homeowners want to replace anything, whether they're paying for it or the HOA is paying for it, we want to add this to the list of options that they have. We actually aren't looking to change the site plan per se. What we're really looking to do is add more options for homeowners who may not want to plant again another spruce, a nice cute one, because that's the way they all started.
Right.
But some homeowners may want to plant a cute spruce there.
Well,
And we don't want to prevent that necessarily because they look pretty good when they're
Is
8
that
foot
the
tall.
original planting or is that the new planting there?
And nothing gets done without the board approval. on my
Sorry?
you know, I mean, look, the concern I articulated is internal. I mean,
That was done
we don't
without
have
permit,
any
right?
authority, jurisdiction over what you guys do or how you, manage things. What we can do in the sketch plan conference really is create a mechanism where, our consultants and our experts are in accord with yours. And that there's a plan that everyone agrees to is a reasonable plan. And then from that point on, it's really up to the HOA to make sure that that plan is being complied with, there's nothing much
What I
any
would like to
outside.
do is get the approval from the sketch, from the planning board to allow us the species that's acceptable for the
Yeah.
townhouse.
Well,
And the homeowner needs to get our approval before they do any
Right.
work.
I think that's probably, we should, if we agree to modify the site plan, agree on the species, but I don't want you to come back to us every time you have to plant a 6-foot tree.
right.
We outline the species that are available, dimensions, whatever, and we put that into a new site plan resolution, and then you manage that.
Yeah, I mean, in
Yeah.
terms.
That's what they're asking.
Look,
And
in
I'm all on board for
But
that.
in terms of the process, I think that you have a lot of expertise here, and you have a lot of expertise that you've hired. And I would say, whatever you are proposing, have it a subject of discussion among, the village and your people, and just make sure that everyone is in accord, that the species make sense, that the spacing makes sense, looking, 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And then, it'll come back to us as a landscaping plan that will be recommended by everybody. Because I don't have the expertise to judge this. I have no idea how big these trees go, or how deep their roots go, or how they will affect the foundations of buildings. But everyone down there knows. So I would, have a series, and I know that you've been doing this already, but I just encourage it to continue. And Michael has been, and Sarah have been very much involved in this, and I think that, conceptually, I think, we agree that this should be done. We don't know what the particulars are, but we think that it's a good idea, and that once there is a plan that's sort of determined as being sort of finalized between everybody, then it'll, come back to us as sort of an amendment of the site plan, and we'll approve it because, we would have had the benefit of expertise on all sides, concluding that, yeah, this makes sense. And that's all we want these plans to do, is to make sense. And then the rest is really up to the HOA, how they're gonna do this, with how they're gonna be dealing with homeowners that may wanna, put in other things. I mean, that's an internal issue that you guys are gonna have to contend with, because not everyone is really gonna understand any of this, or why. I mean, I'm a Belfairite, as is Don. At the beginning, everyone thinks they can do whatever they want with their property, and then you realize, oh, you can't. And that's a very disillusioning realization for some people. So we're very conscious of that.
But to the extent of what you should expect to see and what we're thinking here, no change in the plan. It's really just the species that are listed here.
Right.
We want to add more variety.
Right, I got it.
Well, does that work from, I mean, the landscaping plans I've seen before the planning board before, they're always like little circle with a name attached to it.
So our circles have multiple names attached.
So how many names are on each one now, roughly?
You can see it on what you have in front. You
Okay.
have it on your screen. It was part of the application. I can't count how many there are here, but there's circles, and they're pointing to a list of plants.
But I mean, does it really, I mean, I'm envisioning what you're showing there, the big picture on the upper left.
Yeah, the
It-
picture on the right is the same at it from a reverse angle from the other side.
Okay.
Side of the berm.
But it seems to me that's done in a thoughtful way. But if somebody were randomly to pick, if there's 7 different plans, it might look quite different than what it looks like there, right? You're gonna have to have some way to make it look like a professional thing, right?
That's where the HOA is gonna have to step in and give the approval, and they're gonna have to draw up what they're looking to do, and then we'll have to give the approval based on what they're saying.
No, that's actually incorrect. The HOA is gonna be submitting a landscaping plan that the board's gonna be approving. And then as you go through the properties, that's gonna be the landscaping plan for that property. It's not gonna be a selection that the homeowner is gonna say, I want X, Y, Z. No, that's because you need to meet the intent of the original site plan. Okay, so there's a level of control that the board is gonna have to have over this, where homeowners can't just say, okay, I want 8 azaleas. No, that's not the intent of this. The intent is to have a row of evergreens, upper story, middle story, and lower story trees to have that landscaping. So you can't have all the deciduous trees, like property can't have all dogwoods, because now in the wintertime, it's gonna be a straight shot across. So that's gonna be
Right.
your intent. So there's gonna be a standard plan
So, like,
with
in
species
the-
that they're gonna have to abide by.
In the uppermost or the tallest one, you could pick from a couple, 1 or 2. But then are there gonna be restrictions to say you can do them every other, but you can't just do 3 and then,
10 feet apart.
Right.
Okay.
You're right. It's
Right,
gonna
so we
be-
have a mix.
Look, we're doing a correction here.
Correct.
So it is gonna be a little bit different than what we're used to. We're used to establishing these plans, there's usually nothing there, they plant it, and then we never hear about it again, although we probably should be hearing about it again, right? But in your case, it's like it's been we're sort of changing it now because it didn't work.
Look at the picture on the left. I do not believe that the intent of the initial screening is depicted in that gap there.
So what's changed since the original plan is the forest that the golf club has planted, the 36 trees on the other side.
No, I'm looking at low row.
right. He's saying it can be much less because they have much more.
Correct, but the board needs to take into account
Right.
the approval, original approval has mandated
Right.
screening that is required to be
But
maintained.
can we change the plan if the golf club agrees and if they agree?
This will grow in.
Well,
So this was just planted,
Yeah.
so the point is that this grows.
I don't believe that the original approval this is in accordance with the original.
No, it's, yeah.
This is massive. I don't think we ever expected this. So that's massive, and it should.
But you replace, that's the way
This
it
was
looked.
just done.
Right.
So this is gonna grow in.
Right.
What this is gonna look like in 2 more years, this is gonna fill in.
Right,
So
right.
you would like to see something along these lines?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's
Yeah,
what
but-
we're.
Or as Mike said before, couple
Right.
rows of the planting?
Right, and then we have the different species in the trees and shrubs, that where the different levels are, that will be in the application. We have that from our landscape architect.
Right, right,
We have the species, we've been working with Michael on it.
So Sarah,
here we
have you looked at the HOA's sort of proposal?
I have. They provided us with a list,
Yeah.
which the species I'm happy to see are all native species. But what we were talking about here, and what the point that Michael had made too, that I think is important to remember, the whole purpose of the screening was to provide it, upper story, middle, and lower. So we can't just approve a list of plants to switch out, because what will happen in that, you might get a homeowner who, like Michael's example, just wants the lowest shrubs that are on the list, and we can't do that. There's going to have to be some kind of requirement for
So
varied.
you want to have a planting plan.
We have to have some kind of planting plan.
Okay, that makes sense.
enforce it equally.
Yeah.
So,
and I-
Correct.
so how do we handle existing versus, like, what now? Because it's not like it all needs to be replaced right now. We're trying to create these options, so how do we fit that? But do we come back every time we make the change?
No,
No,
that's,
that's the whole idea of
Yes.
this approval, is to have a
Right.
master approval, so you don't have to come
Right,
back.
but we don't have, but we also need the flexibility to not have to do the work right now, because of not all of it
There's
needs to be
nothing
done.
that states you have to do the work right now.
Right.
Once you get,
Okay, I'm just like how we have existing, versus
So,
how we represent the existing. versus-
currently by code, a site plan approval does not expire. So once you get your site plan approval for the modification, that's your approved site plan. So whether you apply that tomorrow, next month, next year, 2 years from now, that's gonna be the standard. At the end, that's the standard, so you don't have to come back when a homeowner removes 8 white pines in their yard, or the HOA removes a row of white pines in back of house number 1, you have a plan now that says, okay, in back of house number 1, there's gonna be 8, whatever, Brody's cypresses spaced out 10 feet apart. There's gonna be 5 Alberta whatever, or whatever, spaced out 10 feet apart.
So
It's already a done deal.
Any new plantings will have to follow to the plan.
Correct.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Going back to,
Have to be done now.
Terrific.
is it possible to modify the requirement to do heavy screening? If the golf club agreed, if they agreed, because it seemed to me that some homeowners wanted effectively less screening, so that they could look out at the golf course, have more of a expansive view, let's say.
Well, the view is one thing, but the view is going away because the golf course has planted a forest of over 36 trees.
Right.
Trees there.
Okay, well, that would be another reason to say, conditions have changed with our neighbor. We would like to reduce the requirement to screen, because that's pretty close to your door, your windows, right? So some people want more light, more breeze, more whatever, which I think is a good thing. So I'm sort of asking a technical question. Can the site plan be amended to reduce the amount of screening if, does there have to be, a public notice process, right? And then, but assuming the golf club, as the most interested person, comes in and says, yeah, we now have tons of screening, so we're okay if they have less. Can it be revised?
I think that's up to us. We can amend it.
We can amend it?
I mean, but I think this, begs the question whether or not the golf course would be willing to do that sort of thing. Now, they have indicated that they are interested in what we're talking about here because they believe that it could have an impact on whatever interest they have.
Can you show that big, one picture with that? I think, Don, you raised a good point. You could see some of those big trees are almost growing right into the windows.
Right. No, and I can see them wanting less. I mean, not
Yeah.
none, but less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
But,
else that's happening, the airflow
but
is being
that's a-
restricted and we're getting mold that's growing on the back
Yeah.
of the house.
But I do.
Exactly.
But I do
No,
think.
it's
So-
not sunlight.
So one of the things to keep in mind here is that the planning board had certain approval authority over this project. Board of trustees had certain approval authorities over this project.
I think the
So-
site plan is board of trustees.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're slowly starting to hover into trustee approval versus a minor site plan modification. So the question from a legal perspective, which legal counsel may have to opine on, is if the change in screening would, in essence, be a major
But that's
site
why-
plan change.
That's why I was looking for the original resolution, because to my mind, I thought this board of trustees approved the original resolution. Yeah, and I don't think we can change that.
You guys can make minor.
We can make, right, we can make minor.
Yeah, but not,
modifications.
You can make minor.
Okay, but you can call it, there's obviously super heavy screening, moderate screening.
Yeah. But-
I
but-
doubt it said exactly how
Yeah, but
screened
the-
it had to be,
yeah,
right?
But each of the,
Oh,
but each
and
of these
spacing and everything.
choices
Okay.
really puts you down a very different path. If you want to try to make sort of modifications to address a problem that has arisen in the way the original site plan was developed, so that, you can sort of modify those things, address the trees that are gonna die, try to sort of reset the landscaping plan so that, we don't run into this problem in 10 years. That can be done on your own. Yes, the blind, your neighbor will wanna know sort of what you're doing, but if you want to actually decrease the amount of screening, which would be a material change of the original site plan, then you're off on a different track. Then you're gonna have to deal with the Blind Boar Club, and you're gonna have to come to some sort of understanding with them about, you know, how much they're putting up screening, how, you know, because as far as they're concerned, the original site plan is the original site plan. As I understand it, one of the negotiating issues with them was that they wanted a lot of screening on your side. So it's no downside in talking to them about it and articulating the fact that you'd like to give your homeowners more of an option of having less screening. But if they say, well, we don't really care, then you don't have really that much in the way of options to do that, I think. I think that would be, you would have to go back, it would have to be a whole, you know, deal before the Board of Trustees, and you'd have to make your case, and they would object, and there'd be a whole mess.
We're not looking to do that, we're looking to
Exactly.
keep it simple and just
Exactly.
change from a tree
So
that's gonna die.
I would just you know, refine your landscaping plan, have Sarah and Mike look at it. You know, the main thing being, in 10 years, what is all this gonna look like? They'll try, based on how the site plan is currently formulated, you know, you'll work on giving as many options as you can. I mean, there may not be 100 options that homeowners have, but they may be able to have like 2 options or 3 options of different things that they can put in.
Right.
And you know, there'll be an understanding of what those are. You'll have a landscaping plan, and we'll be able to approve it. And whatever you guys approve, you know, we're gonna approve it, because, you
Just
know,
out of curiosity, the planting that were done recently, how does that follow the concept that we are trying to implement, the new?
So those are the
Would
red
that be
cedar-
kind of pretty much in line with what you are suggesting that we do now?
Were you asking us or?
Both of
So
you.
Michael,
Uh,
my
Right there,
understanding is
you see,
red
those
cedar trees are gonna
plantings,
grow
would that
30
be
feet
pretty
tall.
much in line what we?
They can.
So they could go, so that,
Yeah.
to me, I think that looks nice and that would be acceptable on our end, I believe.
and they're gonna, they're gonna grow and fill in.
Yes,
Right. How big are those new plantings gonna get, you think?
They get about 30 feet, they can get 30
Oh,
feet,
okay.
and then, but they grow, sorry, more in a column, so it's like 6 feet wide,
Right,
8
so
feet
they don't
wide.
have to be- they can,
I don't know what the smaller ones in front are.
They should be on the list, some of the, what's in the list of
tall ones?
the current landscaping, in this application, from the recommendations. Landscape
Oxford,
yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously some kind of shrub that's lower, so I don't know how big those will get, but they'll fill in the space
I
between.
totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
so if we could just even make that the option throughout, if any homeowner wants to change, or the HOA, that's what we could put back and keep it simple.
And that's what would make it easier for everybody, is to have a standard.
Right.
That way it's not
Let me ask you
And
this,
it would look nicer too.
correct, and that way it's
It
all
looks
consistent.
beautiful, yes.
you just said the keyword is if homeowner wants to change it, so that, would this allow the homeowner to come in, cut the trees and go ahead with this?
So they still gotta file for a permit.
Of
So
course.
they still gotta get a tree permit, so if
But
there's,
that's given.
so if there are trees there that don't need to be removed, then the answer is gonna be
You
no.
cannot take the tree down unless it's a tree that's in, dying.
Correct.
All these trees are healthy, so would you approve the permit?
No.
No,
If
so,
they're healthy, no.
okay, there you go.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That's a
Join
that's a
the club.
Rybrook code, not a
Yeah,
planning.
we understand it.
Don't blame the planning board.
Michael, I got the only reason I got my tree knocked down because it destroyed my car. It fell on my car, then they let me take it down.
So,
That's an example of something that could be addressed.
So, yeah, that's a dying tree.
Yeah.
I mean,
There
that
you go.
is it. You see, that looks, to me, that looks ugly.
Right.
That looks ugly.
and it's,
And that's
and,
all over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that doesn't look nice.
So if the HOA has it in our budget to replace that tree, we would give the homeowner the option, if they wanted to do it out of their own funds, that they could do it out of.
And you have a plan approved, and everything is legal.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
I think win-win for everybody.
I know, I think it's good. Now, what's the state of your landscaping plan? Have you submitted a formal plan
We have not, we wanted to have the sketch plan
Okay.
conference tonight, just so
All
we're
right.
all on the same page, and when we submit it.
Okay,
it's-
well, you should have some guidance from this.
Thank you very much.
And yes, submit it, and, you know, I can't emphasize enough, we have an amazing staff. These people, if we look halfway intelligent up here, it's because of these people, all right? I wouldn't know a daisy from I don't know, a maple, okay? But they do. So what a lot of people forget about when they're involved in these applications is that we're not your adversaries. You know, you in filing an application or engaging in the sketch plan conference, you know, you actually buy into a whole bunch of resources that you wouldn't normally have, which is the expertise that the village can bring to bear on any application. So I you know, guys have been doing exactly what you should be doing, but yeah, get your site plan in, have whatever conversations you need to have internally, you know, go back to, you know, Sarah and Michael, come to an accord as to what the site plan will look like, and, you know, we're ready to entertain it whenever you guys are.
Eventually, you would require a public hearing on this, right?
Yeah. It'll be it'll be,
Formal
yeah,
application, yeah.
it'll be a formal application, right?
And thank you, village team. Completely agree. We have a terrific village team, so thank you.
Yeah,
You have a beautiful community.
Thank you.
Really, really nice.
We work hard on it.
Really, really nice. Came out beautiful.
Thank you.
yeah, and this, you know, when this was first brought to my attention, I mean, another thing is that when we're making these decisions up here, we don't necessarily know what happens to these applications once they're approved. We don't know what the properties end up looking like, or what the landscaping ends up looking like. So, you know, it's educational for us to see what can happen 10 years down the line when you have a site plan that, you know, obviously didn't work the way people wanted it to work, because it created an overgrowth and dead trees and things like that. But in the next application that comes before us where there's landscaping, we're gonna remember this application, and we're gonna be, I think, maybe a lot more rigorous in our, you know, evaluation of what should be there.
Do you,
So-
do you have any water runoff problems at all on the site?
We have a little bit of a water
Yeah.
problem.
I remember, I was on the board at the time, and I thought there was some streams there, and there was some discussions, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some homes have water problems, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're here. Yeah, you need help with that? Come back.
You got it.
But,
Thank you,
uh,
thank you very
You're
much.
welcome,
Thank you, guys.
guys.
Happy New Year
Thanks
to
for
you
coming.
guys.
To you.
Yeah.
Sorry we didn't have a bigger board, but, you know,
It's okay.
this is the
Sorry.
important group.
These two,
As long as we got,
yeah, these two are as good as two or three. So there you go.
All right.
thank you, guys.
Well, thank you.
Well, I don't know what to do tonight. I like Notre Dame and I like Penn State. So who am I going to root for?
Good point.
Yeah.
Let gravity take care of it.
I can't lose tonight. That's the,